Greetings, everybody. We are back with session 7 of LandFall. Last session on LandFall, as I was saying, the company, in escaping after having done their duty, explored and found many secrets on this strange old hill and the magical pillar placed on top of it. In fleeing, they were being stalked by one of the Manai. They realized they could not escape and set to fight the creature. After a heinous and deadly battle, when many of them were lost, they managed to dispatch the Manai. They took a brief rest and are now ready to make their way through the remaining jungle back toward the sand, towards safety, and hopefully accolades and commendations. Yeah. So we've done some introductions. Since we're starting a little late, we'll maybe our skip intros, and we'll just talk a little bit in our wrap-up. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Very, very, very good. Okay. So, you all are currently still in the jungle. You have taken a short rest. You also, due to your experiences and the tensions, you've found, depths of strength and new capacities within yourself as you rest and contemplate what you've seen and how it changes the world that you know. Healing magic, for some of you, being seen and found is, well, it changes everything. Perhaps gods are real. Perhaps prophecies are true too. Perhaps there's more than just grinding out, and perhaps not everything on the firma is a demon. Perhaps, there may be many thoughts in your head at the moment. So, Crenshaw, what has been your reaction to to all of this? And so, what are you sort of doing on the short rest?
Crenshaw is definitely, this is the first time he's seen this creature, this Manai that swooped down from the sky, and he is spending his short rest kind of going through, I know that I believe it was Foster or Arrest that survived? Arrest survived, so he was kind of comforting Arrest, and in his own way, just a pat on the shoulder and a knowing nod. And he's just kind of going through, talking with the soldiers.
Yeah. What few of them there are left.
Yeah.
Are not a lot of survivors.
Just trying to galvanize.
That seems easy enough to do with the prospect of heading back to safety, back to the fortress. Orzoom's still swooning. Brahm he's definitely still under the effects of poison running deep through his system. Or no, a disease. You all discovered last session that the effects have lasted far too long. Some of you were also poisoned by the manticore, and it didn't last that long. So he's succumbed to some sort of disease. Orzoom is still swooning. You have Ares, Hadreen, a few of the undead, 2 more soldiers. And 1 of the remaining tireless undead. See if I can bring us over.
Tireless, because that's what Zim was doing.
I'm gonna have to bring your volume up again. Say that again for us, Sim.
Said that's so we should have more of the tireless undead, because that's what Zim was doing.
Okay, very good.
At the end. And everybody's back.
Well, so that's 3 that Zim has to make more soldiers out of. Not counting, of course, the body of the Manai. Although, I suppose you could try it on the Manai.
For arcane science.
I get jokes.
I don't think he'd try it on the Benai. He'd probably. We're gonna have the tireless undead carry the Benai back to camp for our dissections and whatever they do, in the tower.
Okay. So I guess I just didn't quite hear a confirmation or is that a yes or a no? Is that...
No, like we're
Okay, cool.
So Rose, the other 3 that fell.
Okay.
So I should have 4 tireless undead. 1 survived, barely, and then 4 more, 3 more. And then not the Manai. The Manai is going to be carried back to Evesar.
Okay. Set some more music on here in the background. Let me know if that music, that rain ambience is too loud. Okay. Awesome. So you take a few of the tireless and have them hoist up the Manai, sort of swaddled and shrouded. All right. How does Sida spend that rest? You definitely can spend some hit die.
Yes, I leveled up and it automatically recovered me. So should I go back down to 1 and then do a hit die?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to. Can I just kind of do as many as I want, or?
Yeah. You can spend up all of your hit die if you want. For sure. So.
And then just +3.
Yeah. So anything socially or otherwise aside from resting? I mean, you're pretty hurt, so I imagine you're pretty focused on just recovering your energy. But
yes, definitely.
All right.
And one more time.
Okay. Deal. How about Kennit? How's Kennit spend that short rest?
You can re-roll that one, I think.
Yeah, re-roll ones for hit points there, Evelyn.
Okay, thank you.
So, could I take a short rest and still be able to cast Define Familiar? I've had that spell since level 1, but really, since we started off at 0, there's never been an opportunity for me to kind of cast the Define Familiar. But if that would cost me my short rest, then I can't do it.
Well, your short rest is 15 minutes. It still takes an hour for Find Familiar, correct?
Okay, so nope.
Yeah, so not. I mean, unless you want to spend longer on the Firma, you could certainly opt to do that. You're in charge.
Yeah, no, I think the longer we stay, the greater the risk that something else is going to come along. I think Kennit is feeling very nervous because he didn't really want to be in this leadership position, but now he is. And, I don't want to cost anybody their lives, but there's a bunch of, tireless dead running around to prove that didn't happen. So, in some sense, I'm like, man, what are they going to say about me when we get back to the boat, So, just kind of, nervously planning and worrying and trying to get whatever advice I can from Crenshaw on what the guys need and just get everybody back safely. That's the objective right now, just get everybody back safely.
Well, if you approach Crenshaw, he's just gonna, kind of let you know, like, you did a terrible job. No, he's gonna let you know, like, hey, this is war, and, like, this is nothing we've ever experienced before, and, I mean, so many parties have left and nobody came back. So, we've accomplished a great mission here. We went and sought the pillar. We made it farther than anyone. They knew it was going to cost lives. So, just the fact that we're alive and you've recovered every single tireless dead. So, it's not going to reflect poorly on you.
Oh, I appreciate your kind words. But anything else you think we should do on the way back, or just, sneak back through and avoid all the monsters? That was my plan.
Oh, it's the quicker we get back, the better. It's this party's seen enough action, I think. I think we all
Alright.
want to be home just as bad as you.
All right, well, when the men finish up their bread, let's get going.
There, sounds good.
So a good portion of your rest, Kennit, is well, as you definitely notice that Crenshaw is taking some time with our rest, trying to steady him, distract him, give him a little bit of banter here and there. So that's a whole can of worms. You almost kind of don't want to think too much about him because there's, it's just a chain of logic there. He's looking at one of his friends who's now a walking skeleton, and pretty upset about it. And the former captain's pretty close. You're looking at some other troops that are, again, that sort of unwanted responsibility, perhaps, weighing on you with him. And thankfully, though, he seems to be steadied somewhat by Crenshaw. You definitely you both sense the, survivor's guilt, perhaps. He's, a danger to himself in terms of the level of risk he'll undertake. Okay, so Sidep, Zim, anything else before during the short rest?
Turned pretty dang bad from my understanding, so she's really just sort of tuning in with her newfound paladin powers, which has somewhat to do with healing. It sort of, to me, explains the recovery, because I think it's pretty remarkable given how short of a rest it was.
Yeah, I could see that. Some of the energy around the pillar still clinging onto you.
Mm-hmm.
Something old and comfortable about that hill, for sure. All right, let's see here.
I think Zim is just kind of fascinated. Them and I, we went over what they had on them. Spellbook, and that was probably in Zim's possession. Not actually looked through, because Zim's a spellbook type caster. And then, yeah, just as mentioned last time, actually raising the tireless, which is part of a job, so he just thinks about doing it mechanically.
You can't help but notice, the sort of remaining soldiers, even, except for Hadreen, obviously. Ares, to kind of distracted. So the other two remaining, each time you undertake that ritual, they are visibly less comfortable sort of being within 10 feet of you. It sort of seems to be pushing them away, putting you in a different category, perhaps, of person, in their minds anyway. And yeah,
The job's the job.
job is the job. But Zim's not the only one that has a sort of bubble around him. Saida, you notice something similar. While the looks that the remaining soldiers are giving you, Hadreen included, aren't fearful or hateful or anything, or they don't seem afraid of you in the sense of you're capable of doing the opposite. You've shown able to heal wounds, and that's something that's very new to these people. You can tell they don't know what to make of it. Hadreen seems somewhat in awe of you. She seems actually to have placed herself closer to you, more as if to guard you while you're resting. The other two are keeping a respectful distance. You're no longer being treated like one of the soldiers anymore, essentially. It's a little bit different.
That's uncomfortable.
So yeah, Kennit, you speak with Brom, Thrumnir a little bit, who both have advice on how to keep everybody going, how to keep everyone focused, how to keep yourself focused. And their main advice is you have to accept your decisions. You make the best decisions that you can, and either way, people are not going to make it back to the city, no matter what you do. Like, that's just the situation that you all are in. Brahm is pretty, he's bewildered. But they both just keep you from focusing on anything else but what's right in front of you and what needs to be done next. So soon you're rested. You begin to muster what remains of the company. A few more dead with you, now carrying the body of Manai, and you all are prepared to begin moving back toward the Strand, back toward Evesar and safety. Double check my... so yeah, I don't think there's any need for exploration initiative right now, since we're not exactly exploring. Everyone knows what to do. So we'll just say top in the order is Kennit, since you are in command.
All right.
And, yeah.
So, let's see. So Thrumnir can probably scout because he's been through the area that we need to go back.
Yeah.
We just need to scout and make sure nothing's changed. So I'm going to give him instructions to scout, and then I'm going to use the message spell with him so that we can communicate back and forth, and he can tell me whatever we need to know that's changed, and I can stay back and command the troops and keep everything moving along. So that'll be the plan.
Okay.
Have him scout, and I'll stay with the team.
Okay. So Thrumnir moves off, he just disappears off into the foliage ahead of you all, scouting back, as you said, in the direction that you came, sort of parting some of the low-hanging branches, ducking his head underneath, swinging that heavy crossbow back and forth, just waiting for anything to jump out, moving with a deftness that is, far outstrips his age. He's probably middle-aged for a dwarf, but he moves like he's much younger. He slips away as you send messages to him, checking on him to see what his progress is. His first response is, sort of, well, nothing yet. And you ask again, still nothing, I say. You ask a third time, he says, oh, Lord, there's nothing, still nothing yet. But the fourth time you ask, he says, I'm seeing something now. Give me a moment. Yeah, I say, it seems that where we fought the large plant and many of the manticore, it seems that the Lear removed their dead, have taken them on. But the manticore remains it's left some strange goo behind. Other things have seeped into clean up, it seems, after the fight. There's manticore in the area. They're all around the body of the mound. It seems that gravegnomes have dug through the area. They seem to be supping upon the remains of the manticore. It's a strange world we're in, but I'm not sure we can make it through without alerting some of their senses.
So there's manticore that we have to deal with again? Is that what you're saying? Or are the gnomes up there?
I don't see the gnomes at the moment. I see where they've dug up. The ground is boiled up. I can see several large pits. Of course, they're filling in with water, but that doesn't stop them from coming back out. But there are manticore. You can sort of hear him, almost feel him counting to himself. Maybe 24 in the area, not all in one place. They'd certainly start to converge. I think we can probably make it through that next clearing where we fought them. But we're probably going to alert some of them when we get back into that point. It's going to be a headlong run at that point. Unless you want to wait to try and distract them, or anything else you're the boss. Anything else you can think of? I'd say we could run it, but not everyone's in good shape, right? At the same time, everyone's pretty excited to get back home, so it's your call.
So I'll relay this to the rest of the crew, and I'll see if anybody else has any advice. Try to count and see how many charges we've got left on wand of fireballs throughout the group.
Sorry, boss. We're all out of those.
So 0 among everyone.
I
Got my one that's empty, and I got their one that's empty.
I think as many times as I went down, I need to go back for some time. Report what we found.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
also can't do much without a good rest.
Can you think of any way to distract these manticore that are on our way now, or just run and fight?
maybe we could have some of the tireless dead distract them, or if we had put something to make a loud noise or something to just maybe scare them off.
Oh.
How much, how DM, how question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How long has it been since we've been at the top of the hill and engaged with the pillar and then to now?
Oh, it wasn't very long. It was maybe 15 minutes between leaving the top of the hill and fighting the Manai. Maybe 20 minutes.
Rational reason for this question. Well, we could send the hawk to try and lead them away. It's not really a hawk. It won't care if it gets chomped eventually. It will fade out though within like a short bit of time. 40 minutes.
No illusion magic. I've heard of casters being able to create illusions on command. Nothing like that.
I don't know that kind of thing. I can throw rocks really hard now, though. Send off poison. Make a clap offender, I suppose, but that might just draw them to us rather than send them away. Or other things.
Well, it's pretty important that we get this info back to Evesar. I'd be willing to take a detachment of men, maybe some of those dead, to draw them off.
I think splitting up is a bad idea. I think any chance we have is better together.
I do too. Resources limited.
Yeah, that's so, says Thrumnir. As you know, I have been saving them, but I have 2 of those shock stones that they issue to us. A big bright flash of light and a blossom of sound. Temporarily blind or disorient might help. Not a big space, 10-foot radius, but a 10-foot square.
Might scare them off if it's loud enough.
Might at least keep them off of us. Neither Ares, Hadreen, or the other 2 make any suggestions. Hadreen's just looking hard at the jungle. Ares looks very impatient to fire or stab something. And the other 2 just look nervous and, just sort of watching you all. Your eyes moving back between Kennit and the jungle, just waiting for orders.
Crenshaw wants to look over the soldiers, Brahm, and the mage, and see if all 6 of them are in shape enough to make a dash, even if it meant like some assistance.
You think with assistance, the Magi and the commander would be able to run.
Okay, and the four regulars.
Yeah, they seem. Yeah, they were able to take
Okay.
a short rest. Although, well, yeah, they're pretty. You know, they're bloodied for sure. They're not full health from that short rest.
Okay.
I get the feeling that we might have to sacrifice some of these tireless dead as the price to get through. I don't think we can trust them to carry the Manai. I think we really need that as part of our treasure that we bring back to investigate. So, can one of the healthier, more trustworthy people carry the Manai safely? And I'm going to be looking at Saida while I say this.
I don't know why you don't think the husk's gonna carry it. Like there, nothing much going on.
I can manage.
Yeah, I mean,
She goes
it's
right
kind
up
of
to
like
it.
a goopy thing now. Okay,
She
pretty
shuffles
nice.
right up to it and tries to sling it over her shoulder.
Okay. It's not too bad to pick it up. It's body is oddly light, and incredibly supple. You know, it's like, you know, it just sort of wants to bow, and the hardest thing would be sort of keeping a hold of it. It's just kind of awkward.
Can we stuff it in a backpack or take a blanket, wrap it up in a blanket?
Yeah, absolutely. You have things like that. You definitely have a pack. Yeah, it's not unnaturally tall, but just it is unnaturally sort of thin. You could probably get it most into a pack. You might have to, you know, use like twine and rope to further like bind it all together. Be a decently heavy pack, but not as heavy as if you were carrying one of your companions.
I take out a 30-gallon Ziploc bag and
Gonna save this. Gonna put this in the freezer.
it's now a boneless. Now it became a boneless creature.
What we need is a bucket.
So, Sadie, you can definitely do that. It is gonna weigh you down a little bit.
To put it in a bucket.
To carry it while you're running.
Right. Well, you know, she thinks she's real tough, and she's also pretty hurt, so it might be strategic. It's like, well, I gotta carry this thing. So, and also,
nice.
also she's definitely got a intense vengeance streak, and I think she wants to be able to contain evil if it's to have any, you know, any sort of effect on anyone near her. So she's definitely gonna take that initiative.
Okay, awesome. So you somehow, you know, manage to pack up the Manai and truss it up so in a way that's carryable, and pack it mostly into a pack and get it up on your shoulders. And all seems pretty much ready. You still have Thrumnir scouting out to the front. He's sort of in a ready position to, you know, ahead of you where you all will go to meet him. And he can move off in a different direction if need be. If you all need him to move to distract or redirect these things, depending on what needs to happen. So, but all is ready as you all proceed forward. So, as you all begin just dashing through the rain, knocking the sodden foliage aside, your boots squelching deeply into the mud and scrabbling over the hard rock of the sort of hillocks in the jungle. You recognize now that some of this stone is ruins, was some building long ago. You can see, as pointed out, I believe by Zim, several rocks in the area were actually pillars. But all of these and the bowls of tree trunks are zipping past you. The call of jungle creatures in the canopy and in like the crawling and shifting in the undergrowth, sort of going silent in a little pocket around you as you all move. Very small, you know, sort of pocket of silence around you as anything smaller than you that you can eat seeks to avoid you. Go ahead, you're going to need to check yours. Actually, So, let's look at everyone's constitution scores. Crenshaw, what's your constitution?
15.
15. Kennit? Kennit?
13.
Saida?
11.
And Zim?
17.
17. Okay. Okay. So as you all are running, not pell-mell through the jungle, you're dashing, you're moving tactically, you're able to look around you. Thrumnir is moving up ahead of you all, guiding you all around pitfalls and the suspicious coned shape of what you're sure are more ropers. Soon the breath that you're panting out is as hot as the jungle air around you. The sweat pouring down your brow, down your cheeks, down your back is sort of mixing with just the jungle humidity itself, as well as the eternal rains. As you all are running, first, Saida, you begin to feel the burn of the uneven terrain, the ducking, stooping, weaving around while having this heavy pack with one of your trophies on it, a grizzly one at that. You first will need to make a Constitution saving throw. You can also, if you have athletics, you can choose to make an athletics check instead. To sort of use your techniques of running and managing your energy and your breath to forego having to make that con save.
16. Athletics.
16. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Nice. Okay, yeah. You muster that strength. You set your breathing to the pace that you're making, and you continue. You're sort of perhaps not up in the front, but you're with the company. Everyone's trying to stick together, except Thrumnir, of course, who's a little bit ahead. By this point, you are through the clearing. Now you're thick in the underbrush. You can hear the distant conversation of soldiers on in the Bulwark Camp. You can also hear a little bit more clearly companies to the south, the yelling, the shouting of soldiers, men and women. It doesn't sound good, whatever's happening to the south. But keeping your mind focused on what's ahead of you, you all tear about 60 feet further through the jungle, which is hard work to run through jungle. It's uneven, you're stooping, you're jumping, you're stepping over. Although Thrumnir and Kennit have managed to plot a fairly decent course, it's still hard work. Next, Kennit, you will need to make a con save, or you can choose if you have athletics, proficiency in that, you can make that as well, instead.
Well, I have proficiency in it, but my strength ain't great either. But let's give it a shot.
Whichever your better roll is.
They're the same. They're both +1.
You have a level of exhaustion now. You're gonna have disadvantage on your proficiency, on your ability checks. You are getting winded. There's been a lot going on. It's been full tilt since the jungle, and the stress of command is more than just the straw that's breaking the camel's back at the moment. So you're still moving up a pace, but you can you feel a little bit swimmy headed. You know that if you held your hand, you'd probably your hand might be trembling a little bit. Your vision's a little bit swimmy. It's sort of not quite doubling, just blurring here and there, clearing back up as exhaustion's beginning to overtake you. Next, Crenshaw, who you all have been through quite a bit as you all are barreling another 60 feet through the jungle. You can now see the sand, the broken rock of the shale beach, and the white-capped waves here and there through breaks in the trees. But more importantly, you all can see the light from the clouds itself glinting off of the shining walls of the fortress city. Your home, your place of fastness, off of the shore, built on the waves, protected from the vicissitudes and strange cannibalistic plants of the jungle. Or, well, not cannibalistic, but quite hungry indeed. So as you are catching view of Evesar, it's Crenshaw. It's turn to make a... Oh yeah, so... Actually, this will be Crenshaw, Saida, and Kennit. Need to all make either Constitution saving throws or athletics checks.
Crenshaw got a 13 athletics check.
All right. You're... Yeah.
16 this time.
Nice. Your old bones have seen worse. And, yeah, Kennit, you maintain yourself, as I've said. You don't slip any further into exhaustion. You're starting to move downhill now. It's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Evan?
Zeta rolled a 10 for athletics.
All right. 10 is a success. You are
Oh.
not further exhausted. I mean, you're not exhausted. You're still moving along just fine with your not just your trophy. It's not just that. It's also a symbol and a gesture, and hopefully it's going to represent some rewards for you. But the fallen Menai in your pack, you are still keeping pace with the rest of them. All right. Now, as the gaps in the foliage get larger and larger, and more often, you can see, more of the fortress itself. Some of the great towers standing up out, straight up out of the waves. The huge walls and the large, there's round, bluff, square towers that come up from behind the walls, and several, all of them, made from the keels of old ships, vast ships that are sort of reshaped into the roofs topping these towers. Hope, relief, the impatience to be there, that almost panic that can come when you're so close to safety after being just your system just being full of adrenaline for hours and hours and not having that sense of security at all. There's an impatience that sort of wants to blossom. Ares starts to dash ahead. Unless someone stops him.
Crenshaw's gonna yell, "Get back in formation."
Make a persuasion check or an intimidation check, whichever you prefer, depending on your
I'm gonna go
tone.
intimidation.
Okay, awesome.
19 intimidation.
Heck yeah.
And sort of head jerks back towards you and... Right, Crenshaw.
Sorry if that was loud.
No, it's great. He gives you a sour nod and sort of slows his step coming back into place. Now, two of your soldiers are helping your commander or your former commander and the former Magi. You can tell things are taking a toll on them as well, but so far no one has slowed down. You are very near to the tree line itself, about 30 feet. You might be tempted to slow down as you're close enough. It's up to you all. If you keep at it, there'll certainly be another check for everybody, as it is just hard running through jungle. And then you're going to be running on sand, which is a different kind of difficulty. So do you all slow down to a normal pace, Kennit, or do you keep pushing?
Keep pushing.
All right.
Well, assuming that I mean, my character would have the insight to know, are we expecting these manticores to be catching up with us, or are we outrunning them?
They're pretty
So
fast.
Assuming that we're outrunning them, we're going to keep outrunning them.
Okay. You can definitely hear motion in the trees all around you. You're not getting much sight of them, as they're very stealthy jungle stalkers. And something about that bluish gray hide seems to just blend in with the jungle mists, the foliage, and they just sort of disappear. But you can hear them tearing through the foliage around you.
Okay, based on that information, I'm going to change my call.
Okay.
I'm going to change it to, hell no, we're not slowing down.
If I can, as we're running through, I'll direct the hawk to kind of fly low in some direction to try and make hawk noises to try and divert some of the manticore attention away from us.
And Crenshaw might suggest, as he's running, just kind of out of breath, just maybe Thrumnir should throw those thunderstones at the tree line. Scare away anything hiding in the thick bush.
That's so, S.A. He calls back to Kennit. Is that what you want?
Sounds good.
Then he stops moving. You all kind of catch up to him and pass him as he hangs back for a moment. Then, if for those of you looking back, perhaps Kennit, you in charge, you'll look back occasionally, checking on the progress of your soldiers, and you see these just spheres of light appear in the jungle, maybe 60 feet off, as he's thrown some of these. As you all continue to pound through the murk and the muck, that is additional checks for everyone but Zim. Zim, with that constitution, you could go about 2 more rounds before before you start making checks.
I got rid of everything in my backpack earlier.
It's an 8 for athletics for Crenshaw.
Okay.
6 for me.
All right.
6 also for Saida.
As you all catch sight of the fortress city, it definitely does something. Maybe even uncomfortable. Perhaps it's the propaganda works. Perhaps it's the fact that this is a fastness, a place that's built by many hands. But it is a beacon, and so as you catch sight of it, you can all make that check with advantage.
New roll is a 25 for Crenshaw.
Awesome.
17 for Kennit.
16 for Saida.
Good. All right. Unfortunately, the Soren helping the Magi and Brahm and Orlum both begin to slow down. Their burdens sort of taxing them. And however, about this time, it's when the 2 white spheres bloom off in the distance, just 60 feet past you in the jungle. Thrumnir has done his work. Ares and Hadreen also fire, well, they unload several braces of bolts in that direction as they're running, reloading, firing. You all burst out of the jungle, your feet sort of slipping down the pretty steep slope of sand. A cheer comes up in the distance from the Bulwark Camp. Looking down, you see 4 huge green tents staked down into the sand with what looks like massive tree branches as stakes put them down in the ground. There are, well, there's a perimeter, there's several soldiers, there's also many logs that have sort of sharpened and created into sort of palisades. But as you all appear, and you heard this cheer from a distance earlier, and now you know that it's the Bulwark Camp shouting your success as you all return, however few of you there are. And you can't make out their faces. It's another 120 feet down the beach to the Bulwark Camp. Broken shale and massive shells of different sorts crunching under your feet as you all pound down the surf. Now you can see Evesar full out, the huge silvery steel fortress city. You can see the fleets of ships still weaving in, as they do all hours of the day and night, as people come and pledge everything they have to the effort to building it, scrapping their ships, which then become the arms and armor that your soldiers wore, as well as the buildings themselves that you train in, and all of the rest. The Bulwark Camp itself, there's a large plinth of steel set with massive pillars. It's like a sort of dock on the shore. And you know this is where the pontoon rafts are pulled into place to form the bridge. You can see all of the several of these sort of tied off on along the shore, and as well as dotting, sort of bobbing in the water at the base of Evesar itself. The gates are now closed, but even from it, you can see the massive seal of the effort carved into it. A six-pointed star, the shape of the continent itself, an anvil and hammers, and several different small sigils worked into it for all of the different folk. But for you, you can see the star itself and the hammer and anvil, enough to know that home and safety is close. As this cheer erupts, you see his hands sort of waving you all down. How do you all respond to this? Sida, do you have any reactions to this?
She's a bit overwhelmed, but relieved knowing that she probably couldn't and shouldn't endure another battle until she's addressed some issues on her person. So I think she doesn't really like too much attention drawn to herself, though either. She's not used to that.
Yeah. Some of your company is slowing down, and you certainly feel much safer once you step out of the jungle. You can see almost all around you, especially the further you get from that wall of foliage itself. You start to feel a lot more, a lot more safe, and you know, again, having to sort of slow down, take a little bit extra time in that uncomfortable attention. So as you all, you continue to move your way down the hill itself, your company now forming up and easily, keeping pace with the slower members of the company. Ares and Boss are now also helping with Warzum and Brahm as they're moving very, very slowly. Brahm does not look good. He looks like he needs medical care very, very soon, and lots of rest. He's favoring his arm. It seems, he has it sort of bandaged up in a truss, even though it didn't seem broken or anything like that. Perhaps the poison is withering. In either case, you are fairly certain that you are safe as you make your way across the sand toward these welcome, massive tents. So, music is not working all of a sudden. Alright, we'll just go with that for a moment. So, as you all make it to the camp, again, another cheer comes up as you make it through the perimeter. Men and women of the effort sort of moving aside, picking up like several of these log palisades and moving them aside for you all to make it into the camp. The dead, of course, are not allowed in. They're arrayed outside the bulwark itself as a defensive screen with the rest. There's many, many dead. There's looks like 30 or 35 tireless soldiers, each still wearing the kit and armor of the effort, but you can see the details of all their personal gear, their own tunics, jewelry, things like this that distinguish them as elves and Borwin, or elves and dwarves, and halflings and gnomes and orcs. Within, however, there's smoke streaming up from the backs of the tents. As you know, there's some cook fires within. You'll be able to trade. You'll be able to turn in all your samples and everything. You'll likely you'll get your pay for the time marked on your credit, and you'll be able to trade with the quartermaster as need be. So as you step all into the welcoming tent, Kennit, you have a duty to check in with at the command tent here, as you are first in command. Zim, you also have you're supposed to check in with the Beachhead Magi. The rest of you, however, are free to do as you please, essentially.
Well, let us go talk to, I'm not great with names, whoever is the leader over here. Us Magi, Satyr, can you, bring our flimsy friend over?
Yeah, you mean this?
Yep, that guy. Gal, it, whatever it is. Now I'm just gonna refer to them as flimsy friends once they're dead.
Thrumnir just shakes his head and goes to restock on his rations and crossbow bolts. Ares immediately goes and finds a cup of mulled wine and drinks it down, has another, and has as many as they will give him until he then goes and sits out, packs a pipe, and smokes some tobacco out in the rain. He sits there for a long time.
Gonna join him.
He looks a bit irritated as you do, but then he kind of makes that look like, whatever, do what you want, you know. But yeah, he sits there. He doesn't say anything. He sits there in silence with you, and he stares out to sea. Looks like he's looking past Evesar, out just out to what they call the curve, which is where space and time sort of shifts. Now that you're here and you're looking at the fortress and you're looking at the sea, you know, the whole world seemed forgotten as you were in this completely new, strange, and very deadly world of the jungle. But the sea itself, the jungle, is the only place you will have been able to get onto in land. Everything else is mountains and high passes. But land itself is, sort of trapped by some strange trick of space. In sailing into it, you felt and saw the sea sort of curl up around you, perhaps into what seemed like a tube where there's just waves all around you. For some, they describe it as the sea curving up in front of them, as if they're moving up some great slope of sea. Other people describe it differently, but it's generally just called the curve, and it's the sort of boundary between whatever magic it is that has hidden land for so long and the rest of the world. And you can see this line of ships of different sorts, the squat puttering ships of the gnomes, the high sort of thin-sailed elven ships, the white sort of, or the wide trimmed sort of ridge-sailed things of the orcs, and those sort of three-masted, warships and such of the humans, all in different lines and queues, coming to have their ships scrapped and to join the effort in doing what you all have done. Although hopefully not as well, because if everybody's as good as you all, well, you might not get the reward you're hoping for. So do you say anything to him as you all sit?
No, Crimshaw's he's gonna see that he's getting ready to pack a pipe with tobacco and kind of like just stop him and pull out some tobacco that he keeps for special occasions. Something really nice.
Oh, okay. So when you give him that, he stops, his brows beetle down, and looks like, for the world, like he's gonna just punch you. He almost half stands up, like just full reacting. And how do you forestall that? Is it just a finger, or do you just open it and let him smell the fresh tobacco? What is it that stops him from leaning into it? Because he looks like he's going for it, but you stop him somehow.
I'm just gonna look up at him and just kind of wiggle the packaging of the. It's kind of like a, like
a really nice brand name almost of tobacco. Just something that's you don't see every day. Very distinctive silvery packaging.
He kind of does
Maybe
that.
a coat of arms on there.
Kind of tilts his head to the side, like, okay, all right, and he kind of sits back down and he schools his features a little bit. He doesn't like make an apologetic face or anything, but he sort of like, you know, his eyebrows go up for a second. He sort of resituates his features after that moment of tension. But he definitely, and once he takes a few draws on it, he stops, like kind of considering it, and you actually see him relax a little bit. And you can see that he looks sad. He's sad. He lost a really good friend. He doesn't try to hide it. You know, he doesn't say anything about it necessarily. But he lets you see it, and he just sort of, you know, he doesn't turn away, but he doesn't make a show of it. He just, you can see he's relaxed enough that tension has gone enough away. You can see the sort of level of emotion going on with him. So
yeah. Well, once they're done smoking the pipe, Crenshaw's gonna, or maybe halfway through, he's gonna get up and just he needs to go take care of his own affairs. But on his way out, he's like, I'll say hi to your mom for you, and just kind of walks away. That's it. Just a little something for him.
He gives the bark of like a humorless like, huh! You know, just like that one single, like it just got forced out of him. And he just kind of nods like, okay. Nice. So as you amble off and leave the fella, you sort of, you know, you've been through a lot. You sort of know where he's at. He needs a minute. He needs to consider. And like you all do to some degree. Awesome. All right, so stepping over to Kennit, if that's all right with you.
Good with me, yeah.
Okay. So you are to check in with, one Clef is her name. She's a half-orc. She's a very solid commander, from what you know. Actually, you drilled with her in training. You did some drills with her, so you know you not really well, but you're familiar with her. You have some visual knowledge of each other. You've been face to face before. Although, yeah, this is a completely different. You know, it'll be a different meeting this time. As last time you were just a trainee in you know, just a cadet essentially. But this time you're kind of just under, you know, just a couple of ranks under her. You find her standing out front of her tent, one hand on her shoulder. She's pointing out, yelling at a couple of soldiers. She's pointing out where the barricade doesn't look as tight. Looks like there's some gaps. And she is just absolutely dressing these two soldiers down. And they're sort of moving off as you approach. She kind of goes back to scanning and looking around, and she spots you coming. She kind of cocks her head. Looks down a little more. Yeah, she's pretty tall. So she looks down just a little bit, at, you know, depending on how close you come. But she's got her head cocked to the side. She says,
Returning from the front. News to report.
I see the first. Yeah, I see the first news is no Brahm. I suppose that makes you Soranasa then, Kennit?
Oh, he's injured, but he's not gone. So he's still with us. He still could come back. I'm filling the role for now, but
yes.
Glad to have him back when he's well, I think.
Well, whenever the Magi release him, he'll likely go to the infirmary. Looks as if his arm needs to be seen to.
Yes, indeed.
So you'll
What's
have
left of his arm.
Just so.
So we were able to make it to the objective and back.
Oh.
And the Magi harvested a great many things along the way, so I think quite a lot of success in the mission. I think everything here is not as it seems, though, and
Explain.
perhaps there needs to be some discussion.
What does it seem like? And what did you see up on that hill?
We saw a different kind of Lear, one who was not afraid. One who, with a few simple and rudimentary signs, I was able to organize a brief peace treaty and get the group to leave us alone and trade for the things from our dead versus the things from their dead. So these beasts are not as savage as we think, and certainly must have some kind of intelligence and culture, at least among some of them.
She draws you back into the tent and drops the flap. She actually forestalls you as you start talking and brings you in privately. She pulls a coin out of one of her pouches, sets it on edge between you all, and says, "Speak. This is not for all to hear." So she lets you finish describing what, and she said, "So you've treated with one.
Is that the coin of silence?
This will..."
Sorry.
Yes, at least from beyond a certain range. Outside the tent shouldn't be able to hear us.
All right. So I'll finish the story about, what we saw at the pillar, and the idea that there's some kind of magical energy that our Magi were able to draw up. And some of it was helpful, and some of it was really not helpful. Stupid guardian guarding against us is crazy. Still makes me mad. Still makes Kennit mad. Kennit is upset, right?
Yeah.
Guardian spell should have guarded the person that summoned it, so he's still like, I don't understand this magic.
Cloth just laughs at that. Magic.
All of it's good.
That's for the Magi.
Be careful what you dig up.
Indeed. You didn't dig out there, did you?
No grave gnomes. No.
Oh, good. So, did you leave anything out about the story? What you found, what the pillar can do, any of that?
No, I don't think I leave anything out. I think I disclose it all, the sleepy blue plants, the fight with the Manai, all of it.
Okay.
Say to healing people?
No. Okay. Yes. Very good. That part I leave out.
I thought so.
Aha!
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean about all the stuff that we found. Though.
Gotcha.
I'm
Yeah.
not hiding any of the encounters that we had with monsters and all that stuff. All that's good. The healing is, we agreed that was a no-go.
Kennit, this is an incredible discovery indeed. I'm not surprised you came back with so few, considering what you've been through, to fight not only some of the greater plants and a roper, a shambling mound, a small pack of manticore, a warband of Lear, and a Manai. I'm surprised you made it back at all. Quite astounding. High
We
command.
didn't make it back.
Say again?
More than half of us died along the way. Most of us died along the way. Very few made it back.
I understand.
I'm going to give her a serious scowl like, how dare you belittle the sacrifice of so many.
Okay, yeah. She cuts you off. Immediately saying, "You know what I mean. You know what I meant. You. Yeah. I make
There's no
no
magic to it. We were just more stealthy than the rest, and I show her the net, and I'm like, net equals hero.
You should think to upgrade before you go back out onto the firma. No, know that I respect those who fell. And when all this is over, we'll give our dead a better honor than to have them march before us. But still, you've done an amazing thing. Brought back lost knowledge, and, well, I think that I'm not sure I'm privy to all of the records, but I think that this may be the first Manai that we have brought back from the Firma. They've been dropped and they've been killed, but we've never recovered one of their bodies. So, you and those who do remain will be commended for this. In fact, this goes up the food chain. You will receive your basic pay and your basic commendations, but you will be asked to give the same report to Swordmaster Asherdan. Your Saida should be familiar with her. I will.
Is there a custom of respect, like equality, like bowing with your eyes up or kneeling or whatever that
Definitely.
The right respect to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's all sorts of different ones. The efforts is very much a fist over the heart. That's the efforts official salute. But protocol being pretty loose and everybody's habits being very ingrained, you might use a human salute. You might use an elven salute. You might use a half-orc. You might use an orcish salute, since you've been exposed to these different. A few different words in these different languages, in fact, too, because you've spent 8 months packed in with these different folk. So there's an official effort sort of gesture, but yeah.
I just want to express that I'm honored. That if we get to report this up, that I'm honored to do that.
Awesome. Yes, well, it is the truth. Now, the only thing I can tell you for certain is that you will have some downtime. You'll have 3 days to rest and recover. You can do what work or idleness you like. You'll be spending that in the city, in your nest, while the unit is repopulated. You will have, depending on what those rewards are, you may have other options or choices. But for now, I would say take your ease and your rest. It'll be several hours before the bridge. You all have done all of this in amazing time, I should say, too. It's not lunch yet, she says, slowly biting off each word to emphasize the accomplishment that you all have made. So now I'd like to step over to Zim, if that's all right, as you step in. Grab my notes.
Did you actually switch the screen? Oh, there. Never mind.
There it goes.
It was a little behind.
Okay, yeah. That checks out. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, Zim, as you check in with one Magi Arshi, a human druid. He's older. He's very, very relaxed. He's not very about protocol. You could tell that he was a redhead, but it's sort of faded out into silver and browns. Keeps it close, but he's got a scraggly beard. You find him in, of course, there's the Magi's little section of camp. They're separated from everybody else. There's its own perimeter of, there's 2 mage guards, one on either side of the tent. Not even flanking the entrance, just one on either side of the tent. And the mage guard are, they are the sort of, they're like the special police, military police sort of the effort. They are the cream of the crop in terms of just martial prowess, but they're kitted out in this gold and black armor, and with spears that are bound with the same sort of runes. It's said that they can absorb any magics put at them into their weapons and armor and put it back through their weapons, making them just about a match for anyone in the effort. So because of that, they are chosen from a certain profile as well. They're very, very devout. like full believers in the effort. They are that's just the sort of people. Like, you know, there's not any brainwashing or anything done to these people. They are just absolute believers, to the point of zeal, even being somewhat zealous, but they have it curbed and focused through discipline. So they're very, very, very dangerous, and most other soldiers kind of stay wide from them because they're also considered like just goody two shoes kind of. You can't have fun around them. You can't have fun with them. You can't let them know if you've transgressed any laws, broken any protocol. They're just absolute joy kills, and that's their job. So there's two of these flanking the tent. One of them sort of steps aside as you flash your sigil, and you, or Zoom is with you. She goes with you, and
Not gonna, as best as Zim can, lead or Zoom around. Probably because she's a dwarf, right?
Yeah.
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 At least
And
similarly of height.
Yeah, yeah. She's a little bit older than Thrumnir. She's pretty up there, and she's a little bit more at it. You know, since she's definitely exhausted. She's moving very, very, very slow. Her vision's all doubled up. She's really shaky. So she makes you first. You eat. That's like one of the main protocols. Is like you get in, you fill your belly, you drink this much water. There's rules. So that's what you all first do before you get in, and then you break off into your different groups. So by that time, she's shaky. She can say a few words here and there. It seems really hard for her to focus enough. But she says that she can come and just see the change, basically, like for you to take her position and to confirm everything that she saw, basically. Because it's some pretty wild stuff, in her opinion. Yeah, she's stunned in more ways than one. Absolutely. You can tell she wants to go back up to the pillar and study it, healthy with a bigger company. And she actually makes that pledge. She's like, whatever happens with this company, she says, I will be back, and I will have another company. There's many more secrets to delve into in that place, young Zim.
Oh, indeed. Just don't summon the guardian thing. It wanted to hit me with a stick. I did not appreciate it.
It was like being trapped in my body. I wanted to stop you from doing that, but it wasn't something I could do. Something.
It's okay. It was
captured my
educational, at
mind.
least.
Well, so still, I'll be up there again, and maybe you will guide the another company, and we'll be on the hill together. That would be a fine thing for me. I appreciate you giving an old woman an arm across camp, she says, as you all duck low through the sodden hangings and into the very warm, if sparsely appointed tent inside. There's a very low sort of fold-up desk. Archie's. I mean, there's not really even chairs. There's just like placards and plates and such to like squat and kneel and sit on. So he's sort of sitting on his legs behind the small table. Looks as if he's studying
There
notes.
you are. We have
Zim. Good to see you, Zim.
to say and a lot to provide, and
You two look terrible. A joke. Sorry, Orzum. There's only one reason you'd both be coming in together. Orzum nods and just gestures for Zim to speak.
yes, I'll in extremely elaborate detail. I've got to do this because it is something Zim would do. Okay, he does not tell about the healing, surprisingly. but goes into extreme detail on everything else. And at every creature or plant pulls out a new sample, and then a new sample.
He's
On
fascinated.
the Manai, he summons the. He's like, Sayada!
So
Bring it in.
with each sample, like he absolutely is fascinated. This is the person to talk to this stuff about, that fellow druid. So he takes each sample, sort of looking at it very carefully, with gloves and tongs, and but he does occasionally do break protocol. He'll bring things up closer and sniff them. He'll sort of touch them. I swear to God, he does the taste test a few times. He's one of battery acid. He says when he tastes the manticore goop, battery acid. So he's avidly copying your notes.
He pulls out like 3 notebooks that no one actually saw him write in at all. But somehow they're there.
Clever gnomes or halflings, very fast. So, yeah, he is. You probably play him a little bit too. You know, you show him the most simple, basic ones: the herbs, the plants, and then this blue flower, and then some roper. The roper they've got some samples of. The shambling mound he's not super excited about. But the zer flowers.
I have the blackened seed of the shambling mound. The
that interests him.
amber eye.
Okay.
The small gray sphere. The 2 amber chunks. The wood-bowed wood. And the wood-bowed dwarven head. And a part of a Manai demon in my bag. A lot of stuff.
Awesome. So he's looking at these things, he's marking them down, but he's also making a tally of your earnings. So any simple sample you get a certain amount for, but historical samples you'll get a larger amount for if it's first time. And then if there are things that pertain to the effort's overall mission, which is find the bits of their, the effort, the folks' lost history, find out what happened long in the past, why the world was flooded, why land was hidden, everything, all these mysteries. And you have found a piece of that puzzle in the pillar itself.
And I think with the pillar, the definition of is it Kennit or Kunsha? One of the 2 smelled kind of that boiling eggs or sulfur of maybe a hot springs nearby. Go into detail of the different buildings, like looking structures that we saw, but obviously going to dig into all of that. Excruciatingly detailed report.
No, that's great. There's,
surprisingly lacking of the healing specifications.
Beautiful. But you did tell him that the pillar was capable of healing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's none of our party. None of our party is special. No. And then it would be almost impossible for him to contain that. Zim also can turn into an animal. And seems to have the bearings of a druid. And all of that, since he's speaking to a druid.
So you've been able to make the change then, son?
Yes, I became a large lizard.
Oh, exhilarating, wasn't it?
It was. I was really fast for a second, and then we decided to fight this dark, shadowy glass jello creature. I guess they became jello after they died.
Fascinating. I can only imagine what being a land creature might feel like. Remarkable.
I strongly suggest it.
Well, if once these reports are all corroborated, and there will definitely be a few companies moving toward that hill to study it further and secure it. I will put my bid in to be among them. So all of this leads up to the Manai, perhaps, that's one of the last things you bring in.
Yes, kind of the last thing.
So his eyes go wide, he actually seems nervous to have it in the tent. But he handled, for a moment, he seems like he's trying to remember what protocol or, whatever you all should use. He does pull, a few small bits of iron ore, what is a dried sort of yellowish plankton, and actually a leaf that you all are finding fairly commonly on the Firma that can be used for various Sylvan-based magics. And he casts a few spells over the corpse of the Nai and over the area. And now that's a discovery. I wonder what it would be like to turn into one of these things.
What do you mean?
I don't know if we can. It seems very sentient? No.
Disturbing and evil. Why would you want to do that?
Made a great effort of trying to kill us all. Succeeded
Indeed.
On some accounts.
Ahem.
Yes. No.
So let's see here. Archie, once he realizes you're standing up, still in the room, Saida says, "You're dismissed, Soren. Thank you. It's Magi talk. No offense. He's told me you've done amazing things. But this is protocol I can get in trouble for. I ordinarily don't necessarily care what the rules are, but this is protocol I can get in trouble for. So please."
Her eyes narrow, but she nods and does as she is instructed.
Yeah, his gaze sort of follows you, his eye, head cocked to the side. And you can hear him say to Zim, "Strong attitude, that soldier. I imagine she's part of why you made it back."
Yeah, it may have hurt her a lot. She's not a fan of that thing.
I see. Ugly thing. I see why she was offended. No. Curiosity.
Indeed, I don't think all of the troops enjoyed bringing back the dead of their friends. I don't know. I didn't really know any of them. But I suppose it would be weird to see your friend rise.
I imagine so. I imagine that'd be a strange thing indeed. Yeah, I admit
That's the way.
True.
What do you think of this thing?
Fascinating. I'm with you as far as the deaths on the Firma. To be honest, I think what I think of it is, well, things live and things die. All things are balanced through time. Everyone signed up. They knew what they were signing up for. A job to do. And those deaths have led to this victory. And this great knowledge. And this thing, which... Oh yes. This will be I will personally bring this sample in to the Halls of Silence, where it will be, examined thoroughly to destruction, as you know.
Wonderful. I'd appreciate an invite to the dissection investigation.
Well, I think that's the least I can do. Sure, Zim. Yes, it'd be good to have a brother do it there with me, too.
Yes, I got to see it's become a gelatin-like creature. Maybe I can provide some insight. I'm going to talk about what it was doing in combat and the magics it used as well.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to leave you with them. I'm going to leave you with them talking. But between the two of you, Kennit and the Magi, you tally up 3,200 gold in bonus credits to the remaining members of the company. Now I'd like to step over to Saida. Saida, let's step briefly back to you first entering camp. So, sort of rewinding time, a little flashback for Saida. As you are entering camp, Adrien is definitely very close. She's walking like 2 paces ahead of you and like 2 to the left. You can make a history or insight check to see what you think this means.
Let's do history.
Nat
Oh,
20.
yeah, nat 20.
22, baby. All right. Beautiful. So you know this is a this is like a traditional guard position that someone would take over their chamberlain, like someone that they were protecting. A knight might protect their lord, or the captain of the house guard might do the same. There's a very fixed position they'll walk in front of the person that they're guarding. And it's a very human tradition, and she's walking in front of you in exactly that way. While the other 3, with Ares, you're watching, engaging there, just noticing them looking at you, and occasionally the eyes will turn towards you and they'll talk. They'll sort of whisper to each other, and they seem to be disagreeing on something. But specifically the position she's walking in front of you, you can tell that she is looking at you in a certain way. She feels protective over you. She has elevated you to a different status. And this isn't even like military protocol. This is like something different. This is more house and nobility sort of treatment that she's giving you. And then as you all enter camp, she steps to the side of the gate and lets you pass, and follows the same distance behind you and to the left. Sort of again, now moving like a soldier attendant to you, right? She follows you in to, you all move in together into the under the first tent, into the where you can all sit and eat and drink, have some like hot tea and water, things like that, watered wine, spiced, mulled, because it's even though the jungles are hot, once you're toward the sea, the temperature drops significantly. Like, it's cool outside. Your breath will mist on the edges of the beach as you get toward, as you step out into the water, especially. But the jungle itself is pretty hot, so it's easy to get a chill as you come back in. But so they follow you in, and you see the other soldiers, the 2 that came with you, sitting near each other. They're continuing to sort of watch you. Not watch you, but the same thing continues to happen. They're talking about you. You're almost positive. You can make an insight check to see what else, but that's pretty obvious together. They're not trying to hide it. They seem too stunned and exhausted, to be honest.
And I should make an insight check.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Rolled a 9.
Okay. So yeah, you're pretty exhausted too. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of people shouting and yelling, because by far the loudest thing, this is just something you notice in all the din, but that cheering continues a bit. It abates, it's lower, but there's still a ruckus around the soldiers. They're still excited that another company has come in. There's lots of shoulder slapping and calling for boasts, as it might be said. Like, how many did you kill? How many ears did you cut? As some soldiers collect the ears of their kills, which is pretty grisly. Not everyone does. You don't know what they do with it. You are starting to suspect that they use it to trade as a sort of unofficial currency, but not everyone even does that, you don't think? it's pretty grisly. It's pretty strange. Not everybody does it. As I said, it's maybe 30% of people, but it seems to be something that, as grisly as it is, it keeps some of the soldiers focused and keeps their aggression up and their aggressive focus up, to be able to show these trophies to each other. Just those simple bragging rights, that currency they can trade, that extra, that currency can be that extra bit of comfort or accolades or, just status or whatever. So it seems that the effort folk have made their own ways to cover what's missing in like effort protocol and law and stuff like that. So there's some of that, but for some of the soldiers that are totally at rest, that you think are in downtime, also waiting for the bridge, people are allowed to like play cards and relax, dice and things like that. Everyone's expected to keep their weapons nearby. Everyone has their racked outside of the tent, so everyone can step right outside. They know exactly where their gear is, and they can put it back on. Everyone still has their armor and everything on. But as you, in Crenshaw, you're both in the same pretty large tent. There's 7 tables that could each fit about 8 people at them, as well as a large table where food is sort of being piled up and served. There's, so yeah, Crenshaw, you're there. You can also make this, you can also make an insight check for Crenshaw. Is Crenshaw with us, or do we lose him?
No, I'm still.
Okay, cool. For some reason, I can't see your camera.
My internet's being spotty.
Oh, that's what it is. Perfect. No worries. So yeah, as you are part of this, and you're definitely here. You're listening and observing, I'm sure, as well, because you tend to keep your eye on the soldiers. Help steer them away from stupid decisions and toward the wiser ones. So yeah, when you get a moment, go ahead and give us that insight check.
All right, I rolled a 6. 6 for insight.
Okay. So, well, you notice the same thing. You notice, there's 2 of the soldiers, their eyes, not at the same time, but they just continue to, one of them will look over at Saida and then whisper to the other one, and you can tell they're disagreeing, but that's about as much as you all can tell. A few hours pass. There's like smaller tents outside, like little solo tents that you can go rack out in if need be. There's clean lines of movement back toward the weapon racks and stuff like that. So as people shift in and out during this time, you see these other folk, these 2 soldiers. They're sitting with RS, but several other soldiers, and they're talking. Pretty soon, Saida and you can both make perception checks. As at this point now, Zim, you take a good while turning all that stuff in and speaking. Kennit, it sounded like you were in there probably a little bit shorter time, checking in with Clef, and again, finally, you know that you're gonna be going and meeting this sword master Asherdan and reporting to her officially. So you're kind of free to step back out to where the rest of the soldiers are and eat and relax and such. So you can also take part in any of this. If you have any questions, you step up, you talk to anybody, you do anything. That's up to you.
No, I'm exhausted. I think I'm just going to try to find a nice game with the scouts and sit down and roll some bones.
All right, good enough. So after several more hours, the sun...
Although quick question.
Sure, yeah.
We got some extra money. Does that imply that we could go get stuff at the quartermaster?
It does. It does indeed imply that you can go get stuff. There's a whole other tent. And you expect to find old Chardon. He is a halfling. He's very, very old. Looks like his nose has been broken several times. He's bald on top with short, sort of almost like Wolverine wisps of hair that come up. He's got a pretty finely manicured handlebar mustache. Like he's definitely styled like in more like a gnome. You know, notice that he has, he has been given a effort prosthetic. He has a metal leg that sort of whirs and clinks as the mechanisms and flywheels and such shift and whir and spin within it as he sort of manipulates the leg and moving around. As you step in, he looks like he's checking through stock of bolts, crossbow bolts, and going over these small vials, the restorative potions, the hit die potions.
I'm not particularly interested in role-playing shopping.
Oh, you don't have to.
Yeah, let's say just stop by the shop and we can deal with it later.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if there's anything you all want to get, we can deal with that. But if not, all right. So a few hours later, as the sun begins to go down, you all hear the bright, deep, brazen horn of the effort as it bays out over the waters, hitting that wall of jungle and bouncing, echoing back over you. You can hear its sort of staccato waves pass back out over the sea. As you all assemble outside, you can see that that the rafts both on the shore and at the base of the steel fortress are all being paddled out into place. They're sort of lining up slowly and linking together with, short links of chain, essentially. Laying plates over the top of those and fixing them in place so that there's a flexible floating bridge. And you hear Clef. You hear she has a small brass horn. She steps out of her tent, puts to her lips to echo that the bridge is complete and for all the companies going inland to ready themselves. By this point, several other companies have straggled in. You see a few companies that are as small as yours, as ragged, as beaten down, but they haven't won the trophies that you all have. You see a few others that look at least whole, at least number-wise, no more or less tireless undead marching before them, but they are tattered and worn, and the faces that come in look defeated. Soon you're clustered together and you're moving across the swaying surface of the steel bridge, moving in. There's a few more lower, softer pulses from the horn of the effort, and soon you're passing underneath the great gates themselves, inscribed with deep, swirling, curving lines of runes set in with shining black metal known as God's Tear, the Magi used to bind in all sorts of enchantments, mostly of stability, but also of protection, into the very streets and walls of the fortress city. Bring a little bit more music here. I think Roll20's just done playing music. It's just like, no.
It has been, yeah.
We're not doing this anymore, guys. What the heck?
So I've noticed on Roll20 there's times where if you link a song, it'll say 000.
What in the heck? Sorry, everything just went crazy on me. It got super loud. Yeah, there's nothing playing right now. It's just playing, I think it's playing every song on all of my playlists. Hopefully nobody else could hear that. Because that would have been terrible. Okay. Adjusting a couple of volume things in the background because that went crazy. So as you're making it across the bridge itself, ooh, the walls of the fortress grow in your sight, getting larger and larger and clearer until you pass underneath them, and you can see clearly all of the individual lines cut and all the runes that protect you while you're inside it. These streets sort of weave crazily back and forth between the steel walls of buildings that are, some of them curved, rounded, some of them square and blockish, some of them pyramid-shaped, almost ziggurats, others almost like needle-like, just getting thinner and thinner and thinner as they rise. But most of the buildings are square blocks. The large deck houses cut whole cloth from massive fleet ships, or also known as city ships, which are just what they sound like. Ships that are huge, hold thousands of people. As all of these ships have come in and been scrapped, the largest of them have been just shifted into place and altered only slightly and made into buildings. So you move between and underneath strange buildings, underneath bridges and walkways. Walls sort of curve and arch overhead. And you can see the lines of what were like the keel of a ship, the gunwales. Even see the great masts that have been sort of peeled open and made into other walls or ceilings. But Kennit, as your protocol dictates that all in your estimation, all those who are responsible for your survival are to accompany you and meet with Swordmaster Asherdan and have your new orders and whatever you're going to receive to report, in part to get the recognition, to actually get face time with this person is a great honor, but also to corroborate and confirm, what you tell Asherdan. So as you weave through these streets where both the dead and the living march, on every corner there is the gold armored and sort of smartly dressed mage guard themselves. But soon you find your way, you're weaving toward one of these square buildings, the nest that your company usually stays in. And in this nest there's offices. So you move down a steel corridor, down some steel steps. You move past the portal to your nest, which is basically like a large apartment or massive studio where the company lives. Something like a barracks, I suppose. And then around the corner, and you give a knock on Asherdan's door. The soft, firm tones of the sword mistress. Enter, she says, as the door seems to swing open on its own. There's a mechanism inside she can activate to have the door open. As she looks up and sees each of you, says, "Come in. I've been briefed somewhat on your arrival. Word has preceded you. I've read the bulk of the report, but there are things that can only be transmitted from person to person. Whatever Clef and Archie were able to discern and send to me from their notes, I should like each one of your stories as well." So she does exactly that. She goes round robin, each one of you. She gets your story, but she's looking at all of the other people in the company as you speak. I should actually describe. So as you step in, this steel cube of an office. There's pneumatic tubes in the back with sort of like cut plates where messages are clattering down, constant, pop down, or which just send messages back up to other places. There's a small tray of these steel capsules laid out, and then several notebooks of thin strips of paper that she's writing on. She herself is a very, a slender elven woman. Has sort of pale blue skin. There's script written on her face from about here down. It seems to be two different sections, as if there's two different stories that are on her face that are the most important for people to know when they see her. Her hair is braided into dozens of small and very intricate braids. Like no one is exactly the same. There's little silver and mithril charms hung in them. Aside from a baldric with her gold crest seal, indicating that she's one of the high command, she's not dressed as an effort folk at all. She's got this silk blue tabard. It does have the effort seal emblazoned on it, but it's definitely not alliance cut. She's wearing she's wearing mithril chainmail underneath it. Her gnarl, her weapon, her spear thing is on a shelf behind her. But Saida, you recognize, you know what she has. On her left hand is the ring that houses her ancestral blade, basically. It's her Anorath is what the elves call it, where it's essentially an energy blade held in the ring that it holds sort of the story and the magical essence of her ancestry, but has something of her in it as well. Other than that, she's not armed or armored. She waits for you all to come in. She nods and has everybody sit down. There's chairs for each of you. There's some small bottles of mead and like nuts and dried fish and some things like that in case you're hungry. But she gets your report. Again, I'm assuming you leave out Saida's healing abilities.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you leave out, or you just, is there anything else that you change at all?
Well, it doesn't seem wise to mention the good berries either, so we'll leave both of those things out.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I can't think of other things that we should leave out.
Okay. So she gives you all she gives a long, appraising look, passes it across each one of you. After a moment, she leans back and she smiles. She gives you a smile that says she's absolutely proud of her soldiers, and she nods to each one of you. A slow sort of makes eye contact with each one of you and nods and says, "Well, I'd say that you've done the first impossible thing that the effort requires. You have returned the body of one of the great enemies that we can study. But more importantly, you found a piece of our history, a piece of myth and legend. You've brought that which will give hope to the people, and hopefully organize them into wise-hearted action. But that will be up to the future to say. For today, I will say that you have earned yourself 3 days off of leave. You have earned yourself another 2,200 in Alliance credits. You cannot be allowed to return to a normal company, as your rank and protocol will not allow it. So instead, I will, using the slippery and half-formed protocol and ranking system that we have, and put you in a position where you each technically outrank each other in different situations. We just call that a specialist company." She grins. "You'll get to choose some of your next goals, your immediate goals. After that, depending on what you find and what you see, the effort will have more specific work for you. But well done, each of you. And I mourn with you for who you lost. And you can see on her face that she does indeed. You can make your insight checks. It seems that she is, she seems to be genuine when she uses the word mourn. Now,
Only rolled a 3.
yeah,
5 for Crenshaw.
okay.
11 for Kennit.
She doesn't seem to be hiding anything, unless she's. I mean, if she was going to be a court, a courtesan, court folk, she'd have to be a pretty good bluffer, you figure. But she doesn't seem to be putting any effort into like schooling her features. So, you think she means it? You think you can take it at face value? And she says, but none of them will be forgotten, and each one. Well, what they knew and what they didn't aside, they gave themselves to hope. That's what I choose to believe. I'll choose to believe that these sacrifices will at some point allow us to have peace and live on the Firma and find what we lost so long ago. But for now, there is business and work. But not for you. You have your 3 days. You have your commendation. She slides a packet of information across the table to Kennit. This is for you, Soranasa. You will get to decide how to allot the funds given you. As I records say, over 5,000 in credits. That's a damned fine haul, I should say, as Thrumnir might put it. So she looks around as if to find the dwarf for a moment. He should be here, shouldn't he? I've also...
Thrumnir? What Thrumnir? I don't know any Thrumnir.
Yes. Odd that a dwarf took to the scouts' training so well. I've never seen anything like it. Neither of my cousins who trained him personally. It's a strange thing. But, I think when we're a ghost in our hearts, it's easy to be a ghost in the real world. Perhaps that's what it is. She says this as if to herself. She doesn't look up when she says it. She's making some notes and says, so, yes, you'll be able to look at, you have a couple of options. There's perimeter fleet, which will be, you'll be on ships. It's just exactly what it sounds. There's people trying to break perimeter to come in for whatever their purpose is, but we have protocol. They have to follow the fleet lines to come to Evesar. So that's one potential job. There's several strange things found on the sea floor. That's a potential job, but you'll be able to look over and decide amongst yourselves and your companions, your yes, I think companions, your comrades, and you will decide. The final decision will be yours, as you are still the specialist Soranasa of the company. But when it comes to matters arcane, well, Zim will outrank you. When it comes to matters of history, Saida will outrank you. And when it comes to matters of morale, well, Crenshaw will outrank you. Now, good luck just determining what happens in a situation where both are the case. But these will be important findings as well. These will help us sort of solidify law and order. In any case, you're free to go. One final thing is she reaches her hand out for Kennit's badge, for all of your badges. And once she takes them all in, she opens a small chest on the side, and she gives you all, they're still steel badges, but everything is lined in a thin bit of mithril. So you are mithril crest members, or citizens, essentially, of the Alliance effort. Now, do you have any questions for me?
Will we know of the results of the Manai? What it is and what it was? I need to know.
The results of the examination that the Magi will be doing?
Yes.
Well, it turns out that I believe, Zim, you'll have your visit with England now across the corridor soon.
Most certainly. Yeah, I believe we've got an invite to the studying of it.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you
have
do,
eat
but
too much beforehand.
Yes. Well, you do have an invite, and you can extend that to your company members within limit.
I mean, if people are interested, it might help us.
too keen on me being around last time.
If it helps us take them out faster, other things, then I think the more we know, it'd be better to have more of us knowing it.
I think so too.
I think that's wise. I think that I always like to see my soldiers, in I suppose, ongoing education. Professional development's important. Taking that downtime to learn, that looks really good to the others as well. It's good for morale, which is, well, that's our main weapon after all. But I'm sure you're all tired. Unless you have any other questions for me, and if you do, you know where to find me.
For a new morale officer.
Crenshaw doesn't have any questions. He's just in the back staring at the badge, and he bites it to see if it's real mithril.
It is. It hurts. It hurts. It's not soft metal. Not at all. She sort of watches your eyes. We have more to eat, Crenshaw. She points over to the side table.
I just never seen mithril before. It's didn't really believe it was real.
Yes.
The badge, of course.
It's the noble metal, as we call it, the fair metal. It looks good on you. You deserve it. I hope you have more soon, as your next rank will be, well, it'll be entirely coated, and there will be gold highlights. But get some rest, get some downtime. You know where to find me if you need me. And I'll probably see some of you at the examination. I have my own curiosities, my own professional developments to, as it were. It's important to keep abreast of all of these things. But congratulations, each one of you. You've earned a rest. So she sort of nods, and the final thing is, again, marked on the back of Kennit's badge. She's got a small little half sphere of metal. She takes it and wipes it over the back of it. It smooths the back. She will speak into it and press it against the back again, and it presses a coded pattern into it that basically indicates how much money you have in your company's account. So she says, "Greetings and hail to the 3rd Specialist Hunting Party." That's you. You can feel free to choose a nickname. If you don't, someone will give it to you, and you won't like it, in my experience. So go ahead and get ahead of that. It'd be wise. Now, I think as you have these words, and first consideration of perhaps naming yourself, or even worse yet, getting some terrible military nickname from some other company, I think this is a good spot to pause for the session. Some thoughts going through perhaps Sida's head, perhaps Kennit's head, perhaps Crenshaw's head is that it's, as much as Brahm made everyone promise not to speak on Sida's secret, that is going to be a damned hard secret for mortal men and women to keep. They will likely, there'll be some talking if it hasn't started already. So these are all thoughts sort of rolling, reeling, bouncing, bubbling, and brewing through your minds as you move back through the steel corridors to your nest, your previous nest. Likely starting to say your goodbyes to Ares and the other two, who both have rank. With that rank, Kennit, you'll be able to choose 2 more soldiers who have recently come back from the firm to join you all. You have a couple of henchmen, essentially, for the party, although you probably don't want to call them that. Probably take umbrage at that. But I think this is a great place to stop for the session. There's a lot of story, a little bit of action at the beginning, but a lot of story, a lot of, well, some foreshadowing for those who can read between the lines. And yeah, so we can, between sessions, we can decide what you all want to do, or we can let the audience help us decide if you all like. Might be a thought. What do you all think? How shall we decide what you all do next?
Might be for the nickname, or
No, for
like what we do.
Yeah, what you do.
Which job we take.
Yeah, seems like perimeter.
First thing
Perimeter.
Crenshaw's gonna do is look for a stiff drink.
You got 3 days. You got 3 whole days.
I don't think Crenshaw's ever had 3 days off in his life.
And it's probably what you would consider like forced R&R. Like, they're not gonna really let you do anything. But then the 4th day, you'll get up at the butt crack of dawn. You all have there's new drills, new protocols, new everything constantly. Everything's being updated as each company comes back and brings this information in. The next day, the army is kind of different. So y'all's next journey is going to be a little bit different for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, your 2 main things are going to be the perimeter, like that's on the sea in ships, guarding against maybe pirates, people trying to sneak in, blockade runners, smugglers, you have no idea. Or exploring the sea floor around Evesar, where some strange things have been found. Both are going to involve deadly risks, because that's the only thing the effort has to do, is deal with deadly risks, because all their goals lie behind this wall of mystery, secret, and savage unknowns. So pause it.
The sea or on top of the sea.
Right.
That is the choice.
I think we can definitely talk about it as a group, but I'm definitely feeling under the sea myself that it could just be because of that song.
Awesome.
Down where it's better, down where it's wetter.
Yes, take it from me.
I just got an email from Disney. We're canceled.
All right, I'm gonna step away for a brief moment, but you all talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
So I have Glass Deviant says that we perhaps a name that we could come up with called the Penetrators, since we've went so deeper than any other group.
Damn it, that's
right? Awful. I had to share it.
Yeah, hoping over the break the Menai inspection.
I think Zyda's only curious in it because it just seems so evil, and she had to carry it, and it's nasty. So she really wants to understand what this thing's made of. Yeah, that's a good point.
Any bones in its body. Obviously, picking up equipment if anyone needs it. I'm gonna get the fireball wand restored. They're very hard pressed to not give me a second. Give me a second. Maybe I can just get them to give me a few empty wands, and we can just go get a bunch of wands of sanctuary at the pillar next time.
That would be nice. That's a pretty nice sanctuary spell.
Yeah, it's a little free sanctuary spell.
All right. Thank you for your patience. Well, so yeah, I think that's a great spot to stop. We can definitely talk about some of this in between sessions, some of the boring stuff anyway. But as far as the fun stuff, yeah, I'm definitely down for our audience to have input or decide or even just, make their suggestions. So if you all have a vote for what they do next, there's also, as you all are stepping out, Thrumnir does reappear, and he says, comes up to Kennit in passing as you all are sort of maybe separating out, packing your things, moving to your new nest, which is going to be sort of like a townhouse for just you all, your small company. And Thrumnir says, essay a word with you, please.
Yes, sir. Can I help?
So, we don't go for the mystical sort of things for the most part, but when we were on that hill, I had a strange flash of, I don't know, you'd call it maybe a vision. I think maybe the Magi might. But I saw it was you and me, and we were back to back. We were fighting other effort folk. We were trying to get to Saida because they were trying to hurt her. Zim was with her, so we knew that they had each other's backs, and we were fighting to him. It was you, me, and Crenshaw. I think Ares was there. Now, in the vision, he kind of leans closer, gets an uncomfortable look on his face, and says, I died in the vision, but I somehow knew that you all lived because I did. I don't like saying this, but it seems like fate's hand be upon me. I think you need to take me with you wherever you go, or keep me close, and maybe RS too. I don't know what it means. I'm not the magic type. Maybe you could talk to Zim about it. That's my piece. I heard your commendation. It's my official request. If you need it in writing, I'll put it. So, that's his part. Before I forget, he turns back around. I've got some friends downstairs in the foundries. Some of the artificers down there having some sort of problem with one of the pumps. They're sort of sealing up areas and pumping out the water and creating new caverns that we can use and store things in down there. They've run into some sort of trouble. It'd be a favor to me if you go down there and help them out. I've got some other things to attend to. He sort of grins. I've got a meeting with a few quartermasters. He winks. And I'll make sure to get you a nice bottle of brandy, Sornasa. But you let me know about that side job. They're offering, it's not much, 250 in credits, but what is it? Clockwork Amulet. They're offering Clockwork Amulet, a favor, and a couple of hundred in credit to go down there and help them figure out what it is. Now you'd have to do it on your downtime, but that's up to you.
We have 3 days of nothing to do. Maybe that's a great opportunity for us.
Might be if you're not.
As to your request, we'd be honored to have you along.
I don't imagine it'll take long. I don't know what it is though. They're not fighter types though, so who knows. But if it's mechanical, they could fix it. Likely they got some danger they need to get to the mechanical stuff. They don't want to turn it in. They don't want to go through chain of command and protocol. Too slow, and it'll make them look bad, they said. That's what it is, so yeah. Well, I'll be around. You can give me a shout. So as you sort of step away, I think that's probably a good place to pause as you guys are slipping back into your old nest and gathering your things. Saying goodbye to the last two remaining, who I never named. But the survivors, the real heroes of the campaign. The two NPCs that were never named but survived. So this is a good spot to pause. And yeah, this is a fun session. I really enjoyed it, even though, I mean, I like to have a little more combat and stuff than that, but I think every now and then a session with some story and a little setup and stuff like that kind of makes it fun. And so now you know you have 3 options for what you all do next. Yeah. So yeah. How was everybody's session? Let's check in. Pros, cons, anything stand out? Let's start with you, Evelyn. Any thoughts? Any pros, cons?
Personally felt like I struggled a bit today, kind of finding my groove back after not being in the session for a minute. But
You did great.
no, thank you.
Mhm.
I guess I don't know. Sida's a different kind of character. She is not as chatty or talky as some of the other characters, so that was strange because I'm normally that kind of a role player, and I don't know. So setting aside my personal misgivings, I'm having a hard time seeing past them and like the technical difficulties and such that we had at the beginning. So I'm actually more curious what everybody else has to say.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, I think you did great as far as nervousness or anything like that. It really just seemed like you were playing your character and sort of getting into it, you know. We had a little tension with us getting things dialed in, figured things out. We got a little frustrated, and that'll happen sometimes. So other than just maybe sort of getting back into it after that, and that didn't seem, yeah, you did great. How about you, Joe? Jay Fink, what you thinking? What you think, Jay Fink?
No, I enjoyed it. We didn't have any combat, but that was okay because we had a lot of fun just introducing our characters to the world and having a very kind of deep RP session. Hopefully we get a little bit more of that before combat truly hits. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Excellent. All right, how about you, DL? Any thoughts, pros, cons? How was your session?
I like the lack of combat. You know, there was a combat there for us to have, and we avoided it.
That's true.
Essentially avoided it.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm glad it's not a murder hobo campaign where we just everything we see we have to slaughter. That's nice. And you know, we made some endurance checks and we ran around it. That was a little rough too. But I think that adds more flavor. We show back up to the camp exhausted, but you know, the manticore's not having caught up with us. So I think in that regard, it's yeah, I like it. I like it that way.
Heck
so
yeah.
That's just my point of view.
Oh, heck yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is, yeah, heck yeah. This is not a campaign to be murder hobos in. You do not want to fight everything. At least I try to make that clear. Excellent. How about you, Big Bri? How are your thoughts and feelings on the session? Pros, cons?
I really enjoyed it. I got to have a nice little moment with Arrest, and yeah, Crenshaw is he's ready for his well-earned time off, and he's happy, kind of in disbelief that he finally got that promotion after years and years and years. He's finally got an upper rank, or an up in his rank.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Excellent. Frick yeah. Let's see. For my part, yeah, I like the reward, a little bit of relief and release after the tension. You know, all that build up, all that action, go, 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 go. Not really getting a breath, and then getting back to camp, seeing people's reactions, having to turn stuff in, get new information, see a little bit bigger piece of the world. You know, like any story or video game or anything, you'll start with a little piece of the world and kind of build out, and it's just fun. You know, so those tend to be some of my favorite sessions. Although I do really like action. I like when people are enjoying getting into the role play and getting curious about different characters and stuff like that. So and I like the point that getting to a point where the players get more options. Like you get a choice of what we're going to do next. You know, what we're going to engage next. Now, obviously, some of you are exhausted and you need a day of rest, so to get that level of exhaustion back. But that'll be essentially that you'll get a long rest tonight and you'll have that done. So by tomorrow, you'll be good to go. But yeah, I feel like, you know, there's going to be little challenges, tech things being dialed in. That's part of why we're doing. We're running a segment of LandFall, and to give ourselves time and not have so much of the pressure. And I honestly think everything is looking good. Like our cameras are getting better. We're getting things dialed in. As I add more devices, I'm having to like write down more and more of the flow of what's plugged in. So yeah, I have notes to myself. But we'll do some notes around the table after we're not live anymore. We don't bore everybody with that. But,
with regard to that, for the audience, for anybody who's still watching at this point, just to be clear, our intention is, to get the group going and get the electronic end of it working smoothly, and then to actually launch a new campaign. So this is not intended to be the long-term campaign. This is intended to be, an interlude, getting started, having some fun, getting settled in on things. But there will be a different campaign starting with more long-term characters. I'm not sure if everybody's already aware of that.
Oh, yeah, great catch. I don't know if I actually have said that on the stream yet. Yeah, that's a great catch. Yeah, once we're going to give this a little bit more time and bring this fully into port, have a good ending, give ourselves time to dial everything in, and then we're going to move on to another campaign that I wrote called Goblinstone. And it'll be a little bit more traditional in a non-traditional sense because it's still me running the game. So, but it'll be pretty fun. We'll have an official session 0 for that, where we're going to make our characters and talk a little bit maybe more about ourselves and our interests and stuff like that. But yeah, so that'll be. Haven't set a deadline for it yet. I'm not sure that we need to, but here pretty soon I probably will. So maybe like in a month and a half, or maybe a month or so, might be ready for that. But for now, thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been really, really fun running these sessions. If you have any input, requests, thoughts about the campaign, you can throw them in the notes. You can find me on various things up top. All of the sites, I'm just DMFaenor. So I recently just launched a Patreon that I've got some free content on, which is mostly just going to be like my journal of being a pro, being a forever GM, and like all the maps and the different stuff I've been working on, and some of my techniques for making maps and all that kind of stuff. So there's all that bit. And then Crenshaw, Brian. Did you have anything that you wanted to share or bring anyone's attention to this week?
No.
Cool.
Nothing in particular on my end.
All right. How about you, Joe?
Not a whole lot going on my side at the moment. Doing some campaign creation and running my own channels. Trying to get a Dragon Lance campaign up and running. It'll probably be closer to the fall time. I gotta get all my thoughts and homebrew mechanics and chaos collected and filed somewhere easily enough for me to be on it. Possibly looking to stream that campaign. I've got 2 other campaigns live at the moment with players from the other channel /Discord I support called Realmsmith. So there is a live 24/7, 365 play-by-post. Currently in Barovia, of
Nice.
places, D&D world, which follows their stream at Belmsmith.
Heck yeah.
And besides all of that, I've been playing a whole lot of War Tales, which is a kind of gritty, very strategy needed RPG game. It's kind of fun, D&D-esque, I suppose.
Nice.
Just don't get the plague, you know?
Yeah. Well, heck yeah. I super support you running Dragonlance, and like I don't know if you need another player, if I'd be available that time, or if I can just help somehow. Like I mentioned last time, I would totally be down to support however I can. But so let's talk about that next time. Well, how about you, Evelyn? Anything that you wanted to share? Anything to plug or anything like that?
Can always, as always, check out my Foxy Pon Pon Twitch channel. Lately, been streaming a lot of art and hanging out with some pretty cool people. And I'd like to play a game sometime this week, but I'm kind of in between games at the moment. Not sure what I feel like playing. So art has been kind of the main staple. And yeah, currently that's about it. Just working on stabilizing and growing that community and my life and my sanity.
Yeah, the two big ones. Heck yeah, get them first.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Heck yeah. And you've been making some awesome stuff lately, so I'm excited for anyone to go over there and check that out.
Thank you.
How about you, DL?
Just positive energy. So we do some engagement stuff at work, and one of the things we were talking about in the engagement team is just the power of like acknowledging somebody. You know, a compliment doesn't have to be some big grandiose thing. Just, you know, say something that the person did and let them know that you see them and that you know, find some value.
Yeah.
You know, just validate something that somebody did. So even if it's like, you know, at work and people are doing their job, just say, you know, you always get these numbers on time every week, and it helps me. I appreciate it. I mean, just something specific, something simple. But you know, I'll be doing that the rest of the week. I don't know. I'm just kind of inspired to try to pass out as many compliments as I can. So nothing about the channel or me or anything this week. If I got one message to give, it's like just try to give 2 sincere, specific compliments to somebody tomorrow. Make them smile. You'll feel good by making them feel good. It's all great. So pass it along.
Thank you, DL. You are quite the lad. You're the guy. I appreciate that. Thank you.
See? There you are.
Yeah. I did it. That's one down. I'm winning. No, that's not a it's not a competition. No, I'm just kidding.
Everything's a competition.
Oh, man. Well, this has been fun, y'all. This just gets better and better. So I look forward to doing this next week. And once we get done with LandFall, we might take a short break to get everything dialed in and stuff like that, and have some more time to, you know, put the feelers out and get the information out there and stuff like that. So also planning on doing a giveaway leading up to the stream. So I want to give enough time for the giveaway to go for long enough. So all that stuff's in the works. But thanks really a lot for joining us. Again, I'm DMFaenor. You can find me on all those things above. And yeah, we're the Mythlanders. See you next time. Play your story.
Later.